Welcome everyone. Today we're going to speak about a topic that is not much discussed when it comes to creativity. Not many creators speak about this, which is the dark side of creativity, which is what I have been going through in my journey of creating many things, working on many projects. But there's a dark side to creativity. There's a dark side that you won't hear much from people who already made it. They won't tell you because they don't want to be remembered by that. They don't want to go there anymore. For some people it's intense, it's heavy, it's confusing, so they're just excited that they finally did it. They finally put out there in the world that creative project that they wanted, that purpose, that mission that they had, and they don't want to speak about this. However, personally, I'm a mentor for creativity, for helping people reach and maintain and build with their creative power and be who they are supposed to be in the world. This is what I do as, I would say, my service, my mission in this world. And I do it in one-on-ones, in private. I help people privately on this, in groups. I do it through teaching sessions like this, or just reflections, sharings, transmissions like this. And today the topic is the dark side of creativity and how to deal with this. How to deal with the dark side of creativity. And again, we live in a dual world, right? Where we have hot and cold, dark and light, love and fear, spirit and matter, feminine, masculine, creativity, destruction, right? So if we don't understand both of these polarities in life, in whatever way, shape and form, we are, it depends on what we are exploring, what we are currently navigating in our lives, then we feel somehow disconnected. Have you noticed this? That if you didn't integrate your shadows, your darkness, your wounds from the past, you feel disconnected from what life calls you to be today. It's as simple as that. This is why it's important to do the inner work. Not because it's some punishment, not because if you don't do it, you're not going to make it in life. You can still make it and be deeply dealing with healing processes from the past, right? But actually, the more we address both sides of polarity, the more we become whole and complete, and we understand how to navigate life, and we are not becoming so reactive to things. We are not becoming so polarized and opinionated, thinking that this is good and this is wrong. We're starting to understand the expression of duality in the world, which happens through us, which happens through our leaders in society, in our governments. Everyone has a dark and a light side. And the question is, what do we want to create? Because in this world, we have experienced the dark side, so to say, to an extreme, right? And we know that. Let's be honest, we have been living in the last thousands of years on this planet in war, in battle of power, battle for resources, battle for concepts and ideologies and control and power, and we still see the same thing today. Nothing changed. It changed the way we do it, but it's the same game of power and the same battle of duality and polarity. And now we reached a point in our evolution of consciousness as human beings when we are awakening to this, to our power, and knowing that we are both the duality, right? We are both dark and light. And the question is, okay, what do we create from here on? What do we create in our lives? Do we want more chaos? Do we want more peace? Do we want more light and lightness and an uplifting life that it's loving and beautiful and enjoyable? Or do we want one that is sad, that is frustrating, that negative, chaotic, in survival mode. What kind of life do we want, right? So none of it is wrong or right. We just reach that point where we have to ask ourselves that question, right? And that's when we already start to become creators, when we ask ourselves that question and we take responsibility for that reality to exist. And so I'm going to go straight into it from here and say, I want to speak about a few points when it comes to the dark side of creativity. And the first one is for us to understand that we are a creator, we are creators, but also by being a creator, we are also a destroyer. We have the power to destroy just as much as we have the power to create. So we have to embrace this reality about us. Otherwise, we are keeping ourselves polarized and we put pressure on ourselves, still thinking that we are only one side over the other. We are only creators and we are only gonna do amazing things with our creativity. No, sometimes it's required for us to be in the destroyer role. And I know this can sound big to hear. This can sound like, what do you mean? Am I supposed to destroy? Sometimes. And I'm going to share exactly what we are supposed to destroy. We are supposed to destroy our attachments, our images and identities and ego things that we attach to, our image about ourselves, what we are becoming into the world, what we are becoming through the process of creation. Because when we are not cutting this, when we are not taking action to eliminate this, right, which is destroying. It's a hard term to say destroying, but that's what happens. You're eliminating that reality in which you are attached, in which you are identified with your ego, with your role, with your image in the world, and so on. And why is it important to remove these attachments, to destroy these attachments? It's important because once we attach to something, and that can be anything, that can be your partner, that can be your soulmate, that can be your creative project, that can be the book that you're writing. Let's say you're writing a book and you're attached to the book and to the fact that, oh my God, you're now an author and you have created this book. I've been through this process. This is the book that I wrote, published 1 year and something ago. I'm writing the next book right now. You can find this book on Amazon, by the way, whoever is curious. It's called Be Nobody, Become Everything, and it's awesome. And so when I wrote this book, I was attached to the identity of what does it mean to be an author. I have to sell so many copies, otherwise I'm not worthy enough. Otherwise, I'm not validated enough by the world that I'm worthy, that I'm someone that matters. And so we create attachments to these things. Once we create attachments, what happens is that we are telling ourselves that there is a higher power outside of our creative life force energy that flows through our body. There's a higher power that is more important than that creative power that flows through us. And that is simply not true. There is no higher power, there is no reason whatsoever to externalize your power to someone else, to something else, to a person, to an idea, to a concept, to a creation. Once we do that, we are disconnecting and we are not receiving our creativity. We are blocking the channel of creativity. So that's when we have to use the destruction power, the destroyer inside, not the creator but the destroyer, is to eliminate all of these stories, all of these identities, all of these attachments that we have created around ourselves and around our creation, around what we want to put out there. Because there's so many people that you meet who are so gifted. They have an amazing gift, maybe to sing, to paint, to whatever. And I witnessed their gift, and I said, wow, you're such a gift for the world. You should practice this more. You should share this with the world. And their attachment of not being good enough, or thinking that they should be on a pedestal, or it can be on both ways, is what keeps them not do it. It's what plays with their mind and makes them hesitate to express what naturally life wants them to express. It's crazy. And so this is why many people that I know, and probably you can identify with this too, how many times did you hesitate to create? Are you actually a creative person? Do you use your creativity throughout the day? Of course, we are creating in many ways. We are creating a life, we are creating a family, we are raising a family. There's many ways we create. Almost every action we take is a creative action. But are you connected intentionally with this action? Do you have a strong relationship with your creativity, with your power? Because it's a power that we all have. We're not victims. We are creators. Are you connected with that energy? Or are you on autopilot, unconscious about it, and you think you don't actually have it? Just check yourself. Check yourself there and see, how connected am I in my actions throughout the day? How intentional am I towards the things that I'm building, creating, investing energy towards? Whatever that is, whether it's your family, whether it is in your job, whether it is in building your business, whether it is in building writing a book, or building a community, whatever you're doing. And if you see attachments to stories, outcomes, how it's supposed to be, how your ego creates expectations and blocks the energy, then know that you can use this distraction energy in order to eliminate and dissolve that, so that you can rise back into your creative power. This is how you use the distraction energy, not to be against someone else, not to attack someone else. It is about you. You use it towards the part of you that, let's say, are against who you are becoming. And you're not using it in a fighting way. It's not a battle necessarily. You can destroy yourself with love, with appreciation, with gratitude. Right? I do that many times. I'm like looking at versions of myself from the past that I'm letting go of, and I'm holding myself with love in the process, and I'm saying, I'm sorry, but you cannot come further in the next chapter of my life. This version of me that until now maybe it served me, maybe I was identifying with, this version cannot come further in the next chapter of my journey. And that's how I destroy it. I don't need to, there doesn't have to be a war, Okay. So, that's how we use our destruction or destroying power. Now, let's see. Another element that I want to speak about, another dark side of creativity, is that the biggest your creative project, the greater your resistance, which is basically your enemy, right? It is the dark side. Your resistance, your internal resistance, is the dark side here in this process. So let's say you have a big creative project that you're working on. It could be many things. It could be that you're building a wellness center, you're buying land, you're building a farm, or it could be that you're building your business, your soul business, your purpose business. You're becoming a teacher, mentor, coach, guide, healer, whatever, and you're building a business around that. Or maybe you're feeling called to become a writer again and write a book, or to be a musician. and produce music. Maybe this is big for you. So also raising a family, becoming a mother or a father, that's a big thing. That is actually a creative act. You're literally creating another being. You're creating a child in the world. That is a creative act. And of course you have resistance. Of course there's, you can see the dark side of creativity in that moment, which is resistance coming to test you. Do you want this enough? It comes and so let's say today you have this massive inspiration where you're gonna be like, oh my god, I'm gonna launch my business, my purpose business, which, let's say, it's about public speaking, to give an example. From now I'm gonna be a public speaker and I'm gonna be hired at these events to be a public speaker. Amazing. Now the next day or a day after, you might experience like 90% of the time, if it's not right away in the next day, it's in 1 week or 1 month, but you're going to experience a dark period of your time where that which you felt initially, that which you were super excited about, doesn't feel true anymore for you. It doesn't feel real anymore for you. And you start to doubt it. You start to ask questions. What was I thinking about to be a public speaker? Am I crazy? And you start to speak with people about it too. And those people, maybe they are playing small in their lives. And then they give you this feedback. No, oh my God, no, you couldn't do that. You should do something that pays you. That's something that's safe and secure. And then it because of that doubt, because of that resistance, because of those worries, because of you thinking you're not good enough, or whatever the reason behind your resistance is, you are creating another energy. You are creating another reality for yourself. And that reality goes into the same direction as your excitement goes, right? The only thing is that this reality is opposing that the very thing that you want, the very thing that you feel excited about. How crazy is that? So that's the dark side of creativity. That's the resistance. That's the duality. And that almost creates a battle within yourself. Often it really does. Often it can really trigger you a lot. And it creates this battle in yourself where you're constantly feeling that you're having this opponent that you're dealing with. And that actually also fuels you back into your excitement. And you will have a lot of contradictions within your own mind. Am I going to do this? Am I not going to do this? Am I ready for this? You're going to be confused many times. It's going to be a path into unknown. And what I learned from this journey is that if you are really, really excited about that thing that you want to create, if that is really, really important, not just for who you are becoming in the world and your identity with what you need, or your needs, your basic needs or desires, that is connected deeply with your soul growth, with your soul evolution, with the soul lesson that you need to learn, with the soul correction that you came here to do in the world, with the blessing, with the gift, with the mission that you are here for, then that thing, that excitement is always one step ahead of that resistance, and is always going to come back to you, right? So the only thing that you need to learn is how to deal with that resistance, how to not be reactive to it, how to make it your ally in a way. So that's how you overcome the dark side of creativity. You have to make your resistance your ally. And this is where most people give up on their dreams. Most people give up upon what they felt excited to create. This is that moment. Because they don't think that they are powerful enough to face that opponent, or they don't want to. It's easier to stay in comfort zone. It's easier, apparently easier, because it's actually not easier. It's going to bring, long term, it's going to bring more suffering than actually doing the thing and facing that resistance. That people don't know that until they reach that point. So yes, in the beginning it feels like it's safer to not take action. It's safer to not create that thing that you want to create. It's safer to just sit on the side and just not get involved, right? However, it reaches a moment when it pushes and it pushes and it pushes your internal energy so much that at some point you need to face it and you need to do it. If it's meant for you, you need to face it and you need to do it. There is no excuse. You suffered enough. You've been enough in the comfort zone. There is no... You exhausted all the excuses. You exhausted all the what if and what, all of these other possibilities. You exhausted even the plan B. You exhausted even survival mode and all of these safety mechanisms that we try to keep. So in that moment, the only way is to go with your creation. However, this journey is supposed to be fun. Okay? This journey is supposed to be enjoyable. It is not a battle. It is not, we're not here to fight this opponent, which we call resistance. We're not here for that. It happens, and this is the dark side of it. And then we learn how to deal with it, and then we show up in a different way, and we are going to be more excited and more fun. We experience more fun and we enjoy the journey. This is what the creation process is all about, to enjoy the journey. It's all about that. It doesn't even matter what outcome you expect. It doesn't even matter what is the goal of that creation. That doesn't matter. That is secondary. What really matters is for you to enjoy it. This is why you do it. You do it because you want to enjoy the process. It brings you excitement. It brings you aliveness. It makes your inner child happy. Okay? It's the best thing you could do. And you feel it, and you know it, and you do it. So in order to not make it a battle, in order to not have this resistance strong inside you that makes you either react or abandon your own creations at times, you need to find a way how to make peace with it and how to navigate it, how to hold yourself through this process. So how do we do that? How do we navigate our resistance? How do we move through this process when the resistance is there? Because we cannot just... Often we catch it, or sometimes we catch it, and we can move beyond it. But more often we can't. More often it's going to be so strong that we don't know how to deal with it. So how to deal with it? For me, the easiest way to actually deal with my resistance is to fully face it, to embrace it, to hold myself through this process. And especially in the last 2 years or so, 2-3 years or so, since I've created quite a few things in my life, I learned how to not be triggered by this. I learned that this is natural. This is how it works. The resistance is always going to be there because there's always going to be a layer and a version of us that we're going to shed through the process of creating, and then we become something else. This is the process of growth in general. Okay? So I learned how to manage it. And the only way I did this was to face it, to sit with the discomfort. Sit with the discomfort of resistance and hold yourself through this process. Be the parent that inner child inside you needs in those moments, because that resistance, most of it comes because that inner child inside was never been properly guided into his or her creative project and process. We have never learned how to create. Let me know if you learned in school, if someone taught you how to create, how to be a creator. If someone asked you what is your purpose, what is your role, what is your excitement in the world. So we are not initiated into understanding our creativity, understanding our creative power. And on top of that, our parents, our family, society in general might have told us what to do and what not to do, might have had expectations of us and restrictions, and saying, you need to become this because this is going to bring you money. You need to become a doctor. You need to take my business and my legacy further, although maybe you had no intention to do that. There's so many stories. Then society as a whole tells you also that you need to make sure that you get the most paying job so that you secure your survival. No one teaches you in school that you can become a successful singer. In fact, if you go to your family and say, I'm going to become a singer, chances are that they're going to say, no, that's not going to bring you money, right? That's the life that we lived. Maybe, in those who are in their 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, and onwards, I think you can relate, because that's what, even many of the kids that are in their 20s right now, or teenagers, experience the same. And so we have never been educated in how to be creators. We have been educated in how to be victims, how to deal with being victims in the world of chaos, in a world where everyone wants something from you and everyone kind of knows what you're gonna be and who you're gonna be, but except yourself. It's crazy if you think about it, but this is a world in which we live in. Okay? And so that resistance intensifies a little bit more. That resistance is somehow natural when we are growing. There's always going to be some pain in the creative path and in the growth process. There's always some pain. When you go to the gym to build muscles, you're going to experience pain. So there is a part of it that is natural. However, that part we can manage, we can deal with. The part of resistance that we can't is the conditioning, is the trauma that we experience, is the programming that we got, the brainwashing, the all of these things that we get in childhood. Those are the things that feel heavy. Those are the things that we build so much story around. We build an emotional body around that is painful and sensitive. And so we need to learn to go through that process ourselves, or with support or with a guidance. But ultimately, if you want to create sustainably, you need to learn how to do that on your own and hold yourself and be the parent for that inner child that needs love, support, and attention in that moment, when that resistance tells him or her that they are not good enough, that they are too much, that your creative project is not going to work, that people is not going to respond positively to it, that you're not going to make money from it. Whatever story is in your mind, you need to hold space for it. You need to be with it and love yourself through the process, and you say, I'm here as a creator, and because I'm a creator, I can create anything I put my heart into. And you need to know that this is truth, this is reality. You can create anything you put your heart into. You can create anything that your soul is supposed to experience. In fact, it is your responsibility. And you're gonna do it because that's how life works. We are supposed to create. As simple as that. And we are supposed to enjoy the process as much as possible. Another way to go through that resistance, to that dark side of creativity, is to remember who we are by observing nature. When you watch nature, you understand. When you watch how a seed grows, when you plant something in the soil, when you plant a tree, a fruit tree, you put that seed into the soil, and it doesn't grow overnight. It takes time. It takes weeks, months, years in many cases until something pops from the ground, because first it develops roots. It develops the root system into the soil, into the darkness, and then it rises up into the world. And in the same way we function. We have been through such a process that made us who we are today. And from now we can choose to rise into the light. We can choose, I have enough roots into the darkness, now let me rise into the light. So the same process happens in nature, and you can watch this. You can watch the waters, the rivers, how they flow, how that stream of water is always gonna flow. And that is, you can connect that with your creativity. Your creativity is eternal. It's always gonna flow. It might change shapes based on the rocks, based on the obstacles that is there, but you are supposed to channel it all the time. We are meant to have creative power all the time, not occasionally, not once a week or even once a day. We are creative beings. We are holding that creative power inside of us all the time, and we have been disconnected from it in so many ways. And we need to remember, we need to watch nature, we need to be in nature to remember how it works. Just observe the elements and see how they alchemize together to create life. That is the closest to the creative process you can get to. See how we alchemize and create life through our bodies, through our intention. Right? Two people getting together, loving each other, creating a third person, a third being, a soul that comes through the woman's womb. How beautiful is that? That is nature. We are nature. So let's learn from that. Let's not believe this opponent, this resistance, and learn and be inspired by life, because we are supposed to do that. And then I think this is it. These are the two ways that I process my resistance. I hold myself through the process. I tend to my inner child when I feel heavy, when I feel that there is this big massive no or doubt and worries and self-sabotage and procrastination and all of that. I know that my inner child needs some love in that time, because the inner child is the heart and the house of our creativity, is the energy that is curious, playful, wonders and imagines. It's a very raw energy, and in our upbringing we have been told so many other stories about who we are and what we should do. So we have to take that power back. We have to take that version of ourselves back so that our creativity comes back to us. It's as simple as that. So this is how you overcome the dark side of creativity in a nutshell. This is what I wanted to share with you. And for those of you who feel connected with their creative power, who feel that they are coming into their creative power and they are coming into their purpose, their mission in life, maybe there's something specific that you want to create and build, reach out to me and let's connect deeper. Let's see where you are. Let's see how I can support you, because this is my role here. This is what I love to do. I love to support people in their creative power, in their mission, from starting from whatever they need to overcome, whatever cycles and loops and patterns are there to be interrupted, and connect them back to their creative power, all the way to clarifying, crystallizing their creations, their mission, what they want to bring into the world, all the way to understanding how to make that abundant, how to be prosperous doing what you love, because you're here to thrive being who you are. You're not supposed to have a survival job to secure your safety while you feel miserable and don't like to go and work there. You're not supposed to live that. Yet we say yes to it. Yes, sometimes it's okay to have that. It's a transition until we become a different version of ourselves. But this is not how life is. We're not slaves. We're not products. We are creators, and we can create anything. So yeah, I'm guiding you to that process, then how to hold your vessel, how to hold your energy and power and channel it, towards your mission, towards your purpose, towards what you're growing. And then there's marketing aspects that we talk about. Everything. It's like really a complete journey that I take you through. If that resonates with you, much love. Have a beautiful rest of the week and weekend. And I will see you probably next week. Okay. Ciao for now.